She walked through the front door at 2:14 in the morning like nothing was out of the ordinary, heels in one hand, hair a tangled mess that told more truth than her mouth ever would, makeup slightly smeared under her eyes, and her blouse clinging to her like she'd been dancing in heat, not air conditioning. I was sitting at the dining table pretending to scroll through the TV guide with the volume low, a half-full beer warm in front of me, untouched since midnight. I didn't say anything right away because I wanted to see what she'd offer. Sometimes you learn more from what someone doesn't say than from what they do. She took 2 steps in, kicked the door shut with the back of her heel, and tossed her keys into the bowl by the door like every other night, like I wouldn't notice the tiny shifts that had been piling up over the last 3 weeks like dust behind the dresser. "Why are you still up?" she asked, not startled, just mildly annoyed, like my presence was an inconvenience instead of comfort. She didn't wait for a response before heading to the kitchen and opening the fridge. That irritated me more than anything. No hesitation, no guilt, just hunger. She grabbed a soda and popped it open, then leaned against the counter like this was any other Thursday night. "You all right?" I finally asked, keeping my tone casual as if I didn't already know the answer. She sipped the drink, then shrugged. "Yeah, why?" I stood up slowly and walked over to the kitchen, not to intimidate her, but because the smell was stronger there, clinging to her skin like a second layer. It was smoke, not cigarettes. Something more pungent, like the kind of smoke that comes from an old dive bar where the air is thick and the crowd's louder than the music. And under it, cheap cologne, the kind no adult man should wear unless he's trying to seem younger than he is. "You smell like an ashtray," I said, standing close enough to make her take a half step back, though she caught herself and stayed put. "You never smoke. None of your friends smoke. Where were you?" She didn't answer at first, just held my gaze for a long second, like she was calculating something. Then she looked away and muttered, "We ended up at a place near the harbor. Some of the girls wanted to dance, so we went to that spot with the patio. They let people smoke out there. You were gone 8 hours. Did you dance on the patio the whole time?" I asked, and her jaw tightened. She turned and put the soda down too hard, making it fizz over the rim. "What's your point, Dan?" "My point is you don't even like going out. You hate clubs. You hate the noise. You used to make fun of people who go to those places," I said, my voice still calm but sharper now, because I was tired of playing dumb. "So, who were you trying to impress?" She rolled her eyes and walked past me, but I didn't move. "I'm not doing this right now," she said over her shoulder. "No, you're not. You're doing it on someone else's couch, someone who wears Axe body spray and thinks Marlboros are sexy," I snapped, and she froze mid-step, hand on the staircase rail. She turned back slowly, like she wanted to lash out but didn't have the words ready. "I don't have to explain every minute of my night to you," she said. "You do when you come home looking like someone else's mistake," I replied. That hit her. I saw it in her face. But instead of breaking, she doubled down. "You're paranoid. This is why I don't tell you everything, because you make shit up in your head and run with it," she said, voice rising now, sharper than it had been in weeks. "And you don't lie? You've been different. Distant. You used to tell me about your day before you even sat down. Now I have to ask 3 times just to get a one-word answer," I said. Silence fell between us again. Heavy. Thick. That kind of silence that chokes more than it calms. I wanted her to fight back. I wanted a confession or a lie or anything but that damn shrug she gave me as she climbed the stairs. "I'm tired," she said. "Let's talk tomorrow." But I knew there'd be nothing left to say tomorrow, because tonight told me everything. The next morning, she acted like nothing had happened. She was back in teacher mode, walking around the kitchen in her robe, frying eggs, pouring coffee, humming to some song that wasn't playing. I sat at the table, sipping from a cup I didn't want, watching her move like she wasn't the same person who stumbled and smelling like another man 5 hours earlier. There was something jarring about how casual she was, as if last night hadn't happened at all, as if she wasn't cracking this whole thing wide open with her silence. I didn't say anything while she made breakfast. I didn't even touch the eggs. I was thinking about the jacket. A small thing, but it stood out like a red flag flapping in the wind. I'd noticed it the night before, after she went upstairs. A man's jacket, thin and navy blue, not mine, not familiar, hanging halfway out of the hall closet like someone had tossed it in a rush. I hadn't opened the closet in 2 weeks, not since I stored the Halloween decorations. It wasn't there before. It wasn't mine. I let her fall asleep before I checked. She was out cold, like she always is after drinking, one arm flung across the pillow, phone charging on her nightstand, locked with a code I didn't know. I didn't even bother trying to unlock it. I wasn't looking for texts or pictures. I had the jacket. I pulled it out carefully. It was one of those sporty types, probably cheap but trying to look expensive, with a logo on the inside collar and a receipt still stuffed in the left pocket. The receipt is what did it. One of those paper strips you get from a cash-only bar, the kind where they write your tab down by hand. It said, 2 a.m. cash, $36, Lisa. That was her name, written in thick marker, and there was a small smiley face next to it. I held it like it was burning through my skin. I didn't say anything right away. I placed the jacket back, folded the receipt, and kept it in my wallet. I wanted to see how long she'd pretend nothing was off. I sat there in the morning light, staring at her as she scrolled through her tablet, occasionally making comments about some article I wasn't listening to. I had no appetite. I had a million questions, but none I wanted to ask yet. She looked up at me and smiled like we were still fine. Like our whole life hadn't taken a hit and was now slowly cracking down the middle. Around noon, she went upstairs to shower. I waited exactly 2 minutes before I opened the closet again. The jacket was gone. That's what confirmed it for me. She knew. She realized I must have seen it. She removed it, thinking I hadn't gotten a good look or maybe that I was too much of a coward to bring it up. She underestimated me. When she came back downstairs dressed in her usual Saturday outfit, leggings, hoodie, no makeup, I asked, "Where's the jacket?" She paused in the doorway like she didn't know what I was talking about, her eyes narrowing just enough to betray her. "What jacket?" she asked, keeping her tone neutral, casual. "The one that was in the hallway closet. Not mine. Not yours. The one with the bar receipt in it. The one that says Lisa on it." She stopped pretending then. Her shoulders dropped slightly, and she crossed her arms in front of her chest like she was cold, but it wasn't cold in the house. "Why were you going through the closet?" she asked. That was the moment I knew she wasn't going to deny it. She wasn't going to lie outright. She was going to try to redirect. A small tactic. A stupid one. I wasn't. The door was half open and I saw it. "That jacket doesn't belong here, and that receipt has your name on it," I said. She stayed quiet. Not for long, maybe 3 seconds. But that silence told me more than any argument ever could. "It's not what you think," she said. That was the moment I stood up. Not because I was going to yell, but because I couldn't sit down anymore. My legs were jittery, restless. I felt like if I didn't move, I'd explode. "Then explain it," I said. "You walked in last night smelling like another man. You left a man's jacket in the closet. There's a bar tab with your name on it from 2 in the morning. What exactly am I supposed to think?" She walked past me and sat down at the kitchen counter, hands clasped together like she was trying to come up with something convincing. But all that came out was, "It was just drinks." "With who?" She paused again. "Some guy from school. A substitute. We all went out. I had too much. I didn't want to drive. He gave me his jacket because it got cold." I nodded slowly, letting her hear the silence this time. "And the bar wrote your name down? Smiley face and all? Just a coincidence." She looked away. "I didn't ask for that," she said. I leaned forward, hands on the counter, just watching her. "Are you sleeping with him?" "No," she said quickly, too quickly. "No. It's not like that." "Then what is it like?" She didn't answer that one. "I think I want you to leave for a few days," I said finally. Her eyes widened. "Dan, come on in. I need space. You want to go out drinking until 2 in the morning with guys who give you jackets? Fine. But you can't stay here and pretend this is normal." She didn't respond right away. She just stood up slowly, walked to the stairs, then stopped halfway up. "You're blowing this way out of proportion," she said. I didn't answer. She didn't leave that day. She packed a duffel bag, walked around the house like she was about to, then went upstairs and shut the bedroom door. I didn't hear from her the rest of that afternoon, and I didn't go looking for her either. I spent most of the day sitting in the garage with the door open, trying to think clearly. My phone buzzed a few times with texts from my brother, probably about some basketball game we were supposed to watch, but I didn't answer. I just stared at the street, the neighbors walking their dogs, kids on bikes, cars driving by like the world hadn't split open inside my house. By the time the sun started setting, I decided I wasn't going to wait anymore. If she wouldn't tell me the truth willingly, then I'd drag it out of her. Around 7, I went upstairs. The bedroom was dark except for the TV, muted, playing something she wasn't even watching. She was lying on her side, facing away from me, the bag still zipped on the floor. I stood in the doorway for a few seconds, not saying anything, not wanting to tiptoe into this. "You didn't leave," I finally said. She didn't respond. "I need you to talk to me," I said. Still nothing. "I need you to tell me his name," I said louder. She shifted slightly, but didn't turn around. I told you it's not like that, she said quietly. That's not an answer. I'm not cheating on you, Dan, she said, now sitting up and facing me, hair a mess, eyes red but dry. I'm not sleeping with him. Then tell me who he is. She stood up, walked across the room, and closed the door slowly before turning to face me. Her arms were crossed, but not defensively. She looked like she was holding herself up. His name is Eric, she said. He's a substitute, like I told you. I nodded, keeping my voice steady. How long have you been talking to him? She hesitated. Since the start of the semester. That's 4 months, I said. We talk after work sometimes. That's it. And the jacket? He gave it to me because I was cold. And the bar? The smiley face on the receipt. He was flirting. I didn't ask for it. But you didn't stop it either, I said. She looked away for a second, then met my eyes again. I didn't sleep with him, she said, firmer this time, like she was daring me to challenge her. I thought about it. I'm not proud of that. But I didn't go through with it. You thought about it, I repeated. Yes. For how long? She exhaled and sat on the edge of the bed. Since the second week we started texting, she said. It was harmless at first. Just jokes. Complaints about students. Long days. And then he started making little comments. Compliments. Stuff I haven't heard from anyone in a long time. Stuff you haven't heard from me? I asked. She didn't answer right away. You used to tell me things like that. But then it just stopped. I didn't realize I was supposed to flirt with my wife to keep her from running off to some guy who wears drugstore cologne, I said. That's not fair, she snapped. You think I planned this? You think I wanted this? I didn't go looking for it, Dan. It just happened. No, it didn't just happen, I said, and I made sure not to raise my voice because I didn't want to give her any excuse to flip this on me. You made a choice. A bunch of them. You gave him your number. You let it go from professional to personal. You texted him when I was asleep next to you. You went out with him. You stayed out till 2 in the morning. You wore the perfume I bought you and let him give you his jacket. You didn't just trip and fall into this. She opened her mouth like she was going to yell, then closed it again. You don't understand, she said, softer now. You stopped seeing me. You look at me, and you see laundry, groceries, bills. You don't see me anymore. I took a step back. That line hit harder than I expected, maybe because it was true, or maybe because I couldn't believe she was using it as a reason. So instead of telling me that, you let another man fill that space, I said. That's your solution? I didn't sleep with him, she repeated. I thought about it. And then I didn't. I looked at her, sitting on the edge of our bed like she still belonged there. You did enough, I said. Whether you slept with him or not doesn't matter. You wanted to. You were going to. That's betrayal. You think the absence of sex makes it better. I was lonely, she whispered. Then you should have said something, I replied. You don't fix loneliness by creating distance. You fix it by facing it with the person you married. But you didn't want to fix it. You wanted something new, something exciting. And now you want to act like I'm overreacting because you stopped short of the finish line. I'm sorry, she said. I walked out without another word. I couldn't listen to her say sorry for a thing she still clearly didn't believe was wrong. That night I didn't sleep, not even for a minute. I sat downstairs in the dark, staring at the cold TV screen, with every word from that conversation playing on a loop in my head. I wasn't just mad anymore. I felt insulted. She didn't even try to hide it properly. For months of flirtation, emotional cheating, whatever label she wanted to slap on it, and she thought saying I didn't go through with it would fix anything. It was her way of keeping the moral high ground while still dipping her feet into betrayal. She wanted to walk that line so she could play innocent if things fell apart, but that line was long gone. I wasn't going to scream, throw things, or beg her to come clean. I wasn't going to cry, either. I was going to make her feel what I felt, confused, hurt, lost, powerless. I knew her too well to make a scene. She didn't respond to chaos. She responded to control, to details, to order. So I gave her exactly what would hit hardest, quiet retaliation. I didn't say a word the next morning. She came downstairs dressed for work, holding her travel mug like always, glancing at me like she wasn't sure what version of me she'd see. I gave her nothing. No reaction, no words. Just watched her like a stranger. She hesitated near the front door, probably expecting me to say something. When I didn't, she left without another word. That was her mistake. She left me alone with the house, with time, with space. She underestimated me again. By the time she pulled out of the driveway, I was already moving. I grabbed 2 large storage bins from the garage, the kind we used for Christmas stuff, and I went straight to her craft room. She spent hours in there on weekends, doing her little art projects, assembling shadow boxes, sewing things for her coworkers' kids, gluing rhinestones on cheap tumblers and calling it a business. She loved that room more than she loved being in the living room with me. I started taking everything. All the paints, scissors, ribbon, vinyl, stickers, glue guns, paper cutters, all of it. I packed it tight, layer by layer, and took it to the trunk of my car. Then I went upstairs and opened the closet in the guest room where she kept her photo albums and memory boxes. Everything she didn't want to store in the attic, the stuff that still had some emotional weight, I took that too. Not to destroy, not to burn, just to take. I didn't stop there. I unplugged the modem and took the router. Grabbed her backup hard drive from the office. Took the charger to her work laptop. Removed the batteries from the TV remote and left it sitting on the couch like a useless prop. She once told me losing her digital stuff would be worse than losing her clothes. So I didn't touch her closet. I left her outfits untouched, makeup trays full, jewelry boxes closed. I wanted her to feel like her world was exactly how she left it, until she tried to access it. Once everything was loaded in my car, I locked the doors and sent a single email from my phone. I created a new email address under her name, and I sent a message to her principal, a resignation letter. It was written with care, nothing dramatic, just polite and grateful with a slight undertone of burnout. I knew she'd be able to fix it if she saw it fast enough, but it would create a problem. It would make her day start on shaky ground. Then I went back inside, made a pot of coffee, and waited. She came home later than usual, which made it even better. I was sitting at the kitchen counter when she walked in, phone in hand, looking completely drained. Her hair was pulled up. She was wearing that beige cardigan she thought made her look professional. And the second she saw the open router cabinet, her eyes narrowed. "What the hell happened to the internet?" she asked. I sipped my coffee without answering. "Dan," she asked again, firmer this time. "I needed it," I said. "For what?" "For whatever I want. It's mine now." "What are you talking about?" she asked, stepping forward. "I took everything," I said. "All your hobby crap. All the stuff in the spare room. Your modem, your files, your passwords. It's all gone." She laughed like it was some kind of joke. "You can't be serious. You think I'm kidding? Go check the closet. Call your school. Tell me how today's been going." She stood there frozen, then darted upstairs. I heard her footsteps pounding back and forth, then the sound of drawers opening, closet doors slamming. When she came back down, her face was pale. "What did you do?" she asked, her voice shaking. "I made you feel like you made me feel," I said. "I didn't yell. I didn't break anything. I just showed you what it's like to have your home turned into a lie. I didn't leave a jacket or a receipt. I just walked out of your world, piece by piece." "You went through my stuff," she shouted. "You let someone else into our life." "I figured we were done respecting lines," I said. She stared at me, completely stunned, hands slightly shaking. "You want to fix this?" I asked. "Then start by being honest about everything. Because I'm done protecting your secrets." She didn't talk to me that night. She sat in the living room for hours, arms crossed, phone in her lap, staring at nothing. I was in the kitchen, eating leftovers in silence, watching her from the corner of my eye. The only sound in the house was the ticking of the clock and the occasional buzz of her phone, which she ignored every time. I figured maybe it was him messaging her. Maybe Eric was wondering why she'd gone quiet. Maybe he was starting to feel what I'd felt for weeks, uncertainty, confusion, the hollow space where answers should have been. She didn't move much, just sat there like someone trying to solve a problem without the right pieces. I didn't feel bad. I wasn't trying to hurt her for the sake of it. I just needed her to understand that the damage wasn't one-sided. The next morning, she didn't leave for work. She stayed upstairs longer than usual, then came down dressed in sweatpants and a faded hoodie she used to wear when we first got together. She didn't make coffee. She didn't ask me anything. She sat down at the table across from me, put her phone face down, and folded her hands like someone preparing for a job interview. "I'm ready to talk," she said. Her voice was quieter than usual. Tired, but clear. I nodded once. "Then talk." "It didn't start how you think it did," she began. "I didn't meet him and decide to do anything. It was small. I stayed late at school to finish grading, and he was in the lounge. We talked about work. He was funny. He paid attention. "You told me all this already," I said. "No. I gave you the short version," she replied. "The real version is I started looking for him after that. If I stayed an extra hour, I hoped he'd be around. If he wasn't, I felt disappointed. That's when I knew something was wrong. So why didn't you stop?" I asked. She looked down at the table. Because it felt good. I know how that sounds. I'm not trying to excuse it. But it was the first time in years I felt like someone was actually interested in me. I was interested in you. You were comfortable, she said. You were routine. You did everything right, but we stopped connecting. I felt like we were living next to each other, not with each other. And your solution was to form an emotional relationship with another man? I asked. No. My solution was to ignore the problem. The other thing just happened along the way. That's not better. I know, she said quickly. I know it's not. I leaned back in my chair and waited. She didn't stop. We started texting more. He'd send me links to funny videos, ask how my day was, remember things I told him. I started lying to you about staying late. I didn't want to see where it was going. I just wanted to feel like I wasn't invisible anymore. Were you planning to sleep with him? I asked. Yes. The word hit me hard, even though I already knew it. Hearing her say it out loud still knocked something loose inside me. But I didn't, she continued. The night I came home smelling like that, it was supposed to happen. He took me out. He drove me to his place. We had drinks. We sat on the couch. And then I panicked. Why? I don't know. Guilt. Fear. I remembered our wedding, our house, all the things we built. I told him I couldn't do it. He tried to talk me into it. But I left. That's the truth. That's not enough, I said. I know, she whispered. I don't want to hear about what you didn't do, I said. I want to hear what you were willing to do. You wanted him more than you wanted me. You just didn't get the timing right. If I hadn't caught you, this conversation wouldn't be happening. She wiped her face with her sleeve. You're right. I wasn't going to tell you. I thought if I stopped it, then maybe I could move on like nothing happened. That's not how this works, I said. She nodded. I know that now. I need to know what you want, I said. She didn't speak for a long time. Finally, she said, I don't know. I'm not ready to say I want a divorce. I'm not ready to leave. But I don't think staying like this makes sense either. I'm not going to be your backup plan, I said. You're not. I'm saying I don't know who I am right now. I need time. I need to figure that out. I already figured out who you are, I said. She flinched. I'm going to move out for a while, I told her. You'll have the house. I'll take the dog. I need space to think without seeing reminders of this mess in every corner. Okay, she said. Can we still talk? We'll see. I packed in under 2 hours. Just the basics, clothes, laptop, chargers, and the things that I actually use day to day. I didn't want anything that felt like hers, or anything we bought together. I left the wedding photo on the nightstand face down, not out of anger, but because I didn't want to see it while I pulled socks from the drawer. I wasn't crying, and I wasn't boiling over with rage anymore. It felt more like a process, like I was sorting through items in a lost and found box trying to figure out what still belonged to me. When I carried my bag downstairs, she was in the kitchen wiping the counter even though it was already clean. She didn't ask where I was going. She just nodded when I said I'd be gone for a while. That told me everything I needed to know. There was no fight left in her. Whatever she had with that guy was probably dead in the water now, but so was the version of us we used to be. I drove to my friend Mark's place across town. He'd offered his spare room before I even asked. When I showed up, he didn't ask questions, didn't push for a story, just handed me a beer and pointed to the guest room with fresh sheets on the bed. That kind of quiet support was exactly what I needed. Over the next few days, I started building a routine. I went to work, came back, helped Mark with stuff around the house, and tried not to check my phone too much. She didn't message me, not even once in the first 3 days. No, I miss you. No, can we talk? That silence stung more than I expected, not because I wanted her to chase me, but because it confirmed that she was just waiting to see what I'd decide without making an effort to influence it. On the 4th night, I got a text from her. It said, I've been thinking. If you want to come back, we can go to therapy. If not, I understand. That was it. No emotion, no apology, no real sense of urgency. It was like reading a work email. I stared at it for a while, then locked my phone and went back to watching TV with Mark. I didn't respond. What was I supposed to say? That I appreciated the offer? That I was flattered she finally wanted to work on something only after it fell apart? I wasn't interested in being someone's second option just because their first blew up in their face. A week later, I went back to the house, not to move back in, but to pick up more of my things. I rang the bell even though I still had a key. She opened the door fast, like she'd been standing near it waiting. She looked different. Not in a bad way, not in a dramatic way. Just quieter. Her eyes looked like she hadn't been sleeping well, and her sweatshirt was one of mine, the old navy one I wore when it got cold. You look tired, I said. She nodded. I haven't been doing much. I didn't know if you'd come back. I'm not coming back, I said flatly. She didn't react. I'm here to grab more stuff. You can keep the rest. I don't care about the couch or the plates. Take whatever you want. She stepped aside to let me in. I went upstairs and filled a suitcase. She followed me after a minute and stood in the hallway. You don't want to try? She asked. I zipped the suitcase and set it down. I tried. For 10 years, I tried. I gave everything I could. You gave up the second something shiny came along. I didn't cheat, she said quietly. You were one decision away, I replied. And you were proud enough to tell me that like it was some kind of credit. She sat on the edge of the bed and rubbed her face. I was lonely. I was too, I said. You think it was easy for me when we started sleeping with our backs to each other? When you started shutting down every conversation with one-word answers? I felt like a ghost in this house. So what now? She asked. I move on. You do whatever you want, I said. I'm not filing for divorce right away. I want space. Maybe you'll figure out what you want to. But we're done for now. I still love you, she said. I looked at her for a long moment. I don't know what that means anymore, I said, then picked up my suitcase and walked out of the room. She didn't follow me down the stairs this time. She stayed upstairs, and I didn't look back. I loaded the car, started the engine, and pulled away without another glance at the house. In the weeks that followed, I started rebuilding my life slowly. I found a small apartment on the other side of town, not fancy, but clean and quiet. I got a gym membership, started eating better, and picked up some projects at work to stay busy. Mark came by to help me move some furniture in, and he didn't ask about her, just handed me a wrench and helped tighten the legs on a table. That's the kind of support I needed, no pity, just presence. She reached out a few more times. Small texts? Some hopeful, some just updates about the house or our mutual friends. I didn't block her, but I didn't encourage the conversations either. I responded when necessary and kept it short. She stopped trying after a while. I guess she finally understood that whatever we had was gone, not because of one night or one man, but because she broke something that couldn't be patched up with therapy and promises. I never got the full truth about how far things went. I never needed it. What mattered was how easily she entertained the idea of stepping out, how naturally she kept me in the dark, how little effort she made until it was too late. That told me everything. I still think about her sometimes. I think about the good moments, and I wonder if they were real or just convenient. But then I remember the night she walked in smelling like smoke and lies, and I remind myself that I made the right choice. That part of my life is over. Now I get to live the next one on my terms.